and welcome back to Keri Runs 100 Miles vlog here on YouTube. So it was week 9 of training last week, and I feel like I'm a broken record at this point of it just didn't go as planned. So I ended up at about 22 miles, so a 5 miler, a 5 miler, a 5.5 miler, and a 6.5 miler. Nowhere near the like 60 plus miles I was supposed to do. However, this week was supposed to be a down week or recovery week, so once again I'm just going to switch the two, and last week will be a recovery week and this week I'll aim for the higher mileage. So it was just hard. So if you know me in real life or you follow me on social media, you know that my middle daughter, who's 12, we call her the vampire unicorn because she's a redhead and she plays soccer, and so she burns really easy. It's a whole big thing. But since the 3rd grade, we've dealt with anxiety and with her, to the point there were days where we would spend 2 hours crying in the car parking lot because she wouldn't go in. Or 2 to 3 hours at night of just sobbing uncontrollably. She becomes very nonverbal when she's having a panic attack, so we couldn't figure out what was wrong, didn't know what was going on, and so we got to the point where we figured out that she would write back and forth, so we would spend hours just writing one sentence or 2 sentences back and forth just to have a conversation with her to get her to try to process what was going on. She's been in counseling since the 3rd grade, and we went through quite a few, at least a couple years of just really hard. Just making you feel like a crappy parent, and that kind of stuff. And she started to get better, and didn't realize this was gonna happen, but here we go. Should have done my makeup before doing this. So she's kind of goes in kind of just ups and downs. She's been doing really good. We've always left it up to her as to when she goes to see her counselor, and so she hadn't been to see her counselor since June, and even then it had been like probably 4 to 6 months before that. She doesn't do change well, so anytime a big change is coming up, we kind of know there's a chance for something. But anyway, so last week, on Wednesday, I was had everything planned. It was my only day last week that I had enough time to do my 20 miler, and I had everything planned, guys. I did everything I was supposed to do. I had my aid station set up, I had my pack, I had eaten well the day before, I had gotten good sleep, I had gotten everything done so that I had the exact amount of time I needed. It was a beautiful day, and I was like, I'm gonna knock this out. I felt great. And so my plan was to do a down and back 5 miles, to hit my car, you know, take off gloves, hats, whatever I kind of needed, kind of use it as my aid station and my touch base, which kind of, side note, has nothing to do with this, but sort of, I feel like doing that has really helped the mental aspect of running some of these longer distances. I think because it's easier to break it up into little 5 mile whatevers. Whenever I've done longer runs in the past, I've always tried to do just long down and back. So, you know, 9 miles out and then back, and it just becomes so overwhelmingly mentally. So I have found using my car as a touch base every like 5 to 6 miles, which is roughly-ish when you would have an aid station on one of these longer runs, has really helped the mental aspect. Side note, asterisk, there you go. So, back to the story. So I had just gotten back to my car after my first pit. I was at my first pit stop, so I was 5 miles into my 20 miler. I was feeling great, and I get a phone call, and it says Old High, which is where my daughter goes to school, and it's the counselor at school, and she's like, I have Kylie in here. And Kylie's never gone to the counselor at school. She's gone to the nurse because sometimes anxiety, of course, makes her physically sick. And she said that on Tuesday they had a presentation on suicide prevention and signs of suicide. And so at the end of it, which I think this is just an amazing way for the school to have done this, so I highly appreciate it. They gave each kid a little form, and each kid had to check a box that said either I'm doing fine or I need to talk to someone, and then I need to talk to someone today, tomorrow, by the end of the week. And I just thought it was a really great way to respect kids' privacy but still give them a chance to voice something. And so I get this call Wednesday morning at about, I guess it was about 10:30, and saying that Kylie was in her office and that she had filled out the form saying that she needed to talk to somebody. And we had known that she hadn't been kind of 100% for the last couple weeks, but you know, there's the time change, there's hormones, and so we kind of weren't really sure what was going on. Like, she would lay on the couch and eat chips, which is just not like her. Usually she's practicing her saxophone, she's kicking a soccer ball around. We had a couple instances where she hasn't wanted to go to soccer, and soccer is just her jam. She plays competitive soccer, she's a goalie. Not always the best for the anxiety, but it is what it is, but she still loves it. And so we couldn't really figure out what was going on, and so the office had gotten a slip and called her in, and she just told them that she was just really sad, that she didn't know why, that she didn't know what was going on, and it wouldn't go away. And over the summer we had dealt with our first issue of self-harm with her, and it was and that she was continuing that a little bit right now. And her self-harm is like punching walls and kicking walls and that kind of thing. So definitely nothing that we could physically see a lot of times. And so she goes, hey, the counselor says, do you want to talk to her? She's right here. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And so I get on the phone with her. I was like, sweetie, I love you. I'm sorry you're sad. I was like, do you want me to come pick you up? And she said, yes. And I go, okay. I just got to my car. Go, give me a few minutes. I go, I'll get, I'll get in the car and I'll come and get you. We live about 10 to 15 minutes from her school. And so I jumped in the car, went and got her, and we kind of spent the day together. Through all this time, I'm trying to get hold of her counselor so that she can try to get her in, but getting in last minute is so difficult, especially without trying to miss school and that kind of stuff. And her counselor came back and said, I have a cancellation tomorrow, and it was at 2 o'clock. The only kind of wanky part is that it's in a town 45 minutes to an hour away where her counselor is once a week on Thursdays. And so I was like, we'll do what we got to do. So I started calling my boss and saying, hey, this is what's going on. Is it possible to move my schedule tomorrow? Calling Kendall and saying, hey, she can get her in tomorrow, but I'm going to need you to be available to pick up Chloe, our 9-year-old, because she has Odyssey of the Mind tomorrow and she gets out at 3:30. And so we're juggling our schedule, trying to get her to see her counselor and all that kind of stuff. And so on Wednesday, I hung out with her all day and made sure that Kendall was home before I went to work Wednesday night, just so she wouldn't be not that she'd be by herself, but so that would be an adult there. And so I spent all day Thursday just working, driving her an hour to her appointment, being in there for an hour with, and then driving her an hour back in time for her to go to soccer. And so there was no time for running on Thursday, and then I left Friday for a trip, and I was gone Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday I made myself go out and run 5.5, even though I was at a retreat, and these are people I only see once a year. But I was like, I have to try something. I have to do something. And then Sunday we were done early, and so I hit a really pretty, actually, nature conservation preserve thingy that's up in Springfield, Missouri, close to where we were. It was really pretty, and kind of just, I could have probably done more, but it would put me more time away from my family. And just being honest, I had such mom guilt on Wednesday because I was sad for my daughter, and I was sad, and I was kind of angry at the whole situation that this was the only day I was going to be able to get this run in. And then I felt like such a shitty parent that I was angry that my daughter was going through this because it was interfering with my running. Ugh. So it was really hard. And so, not to turn into a big ball bag, but I guess I am. So, it's hard. We're working through it. She told her counselor that she's not suicidal, which is good, obviously, but just that she's really sad and that we don't know why. There's no trigger. There's no thing that we can point to that says, you know, grandma died and it's why I'm sad. So we've discussed medication. And I know this has nothing to do with running, but running is part of our lives. If you watch this, it's because you're probably a runner. But you also understand that running sometimes is the therapy to life. And sometimes life is the thing that keeps us from running. And we just have to figure out how to balance all that. And so we're trying to balance all that right now. It has not been the easiest of few days. And so we're trying, and all I can do is keep trying. I can keep lacing up my shoes and showing my daughter that even in the darkest times, even in the saddest times, we don't pretend that the sadness doesn't exist. I don't pretend that I'm not crying, but I still lace up the shoes and I go and do it. And I hope if you can take anything from this video full of tears, and hopefully you can even understand me, I just hope that you take the knowledge that there's going to be sad times, there's going to be bad times, there's going to be mad times, there's going to be just some really crappy times in life, because we live in a world of sadness, and we live in a world of just hurting people, and just stuff that we won't understand. But I just hope that if anything you've gotten from this cry fest, is to just continue to lace up and keep going, no matter what that is. Maybe it actually is running, maybe it's just getting your foot out the door, maybe it's taking a shower and doing your makeup, you know, maybe it's wearing a nice shirt and taking time to iron it, so that, yeah, you might feel crappy on the inside, but dadgummit, you're gonna look good on the outside. And not because we're faking it. It's not about faking it, but it's about saying that what's going on the inside is not gonna win. And if the one thing you have control over is whether you lace up your shoes, or whether you iron your shirt, or whether you take a shower, that you take ownership of whatever little thing you can find in your life that you might have control over. You know, maybe it's you have control, everything seems crazy out of control, but dadgummit, you have control over what you put in your mouth. Put the healthy stuff in there. Put the things that are going to make you feel good about yourself. Whatever it is, find that little nugget of whatever you have that you can have control over, and use that to anchor yourself in the storm of the craziness that life can be. So this turned into a little bit more emotionally than I intended it. So if you made it all the way to the end, thanks, I love you. So yeah, I'm just gonna lace up and keep trying and not let things defeat me. I don't know where you are on the spectrum of religion and God and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a Jesus girl, and I just have to hold tight to the idea that something good's gonna come out of this. And I get it. I was a 12-year-old suicidal, depressed girl, And so I know the pain she's going through, but the crap I went through and the things I went through has made me the person I am, and has made me a stronger person, and has allowed me to tell that story to so many women, and give them that anchor in a storm and that hope that they're not alone and that they can make it through it, because I did. And so I'm just praying that at some point in her life or in my life or whatever, that her story and our story as parents dealing with this will just be a beacon and a light to somebody, to know that you are not alone, and that we're all gonna make it. We're all gonna do this. Satan is not gonna win, and we will figure this out. And my daughter will be a damn good survivor, and not just survivor, she will be a champion. And that this will not control her life forever. And so, not to end on tears, I was trying to end on a happy note. So that's it. That was week 9 of training. So, I'm gonna try to promise that this won't happen next time. And now I have to go redo my makeup because I have to go to work. So, I hope you guys will have an amazing day. And once again, find one small thing in your life today that you have control over that's going to make your life better, and focus on that today instead of any storms you might be going through. So, thanks for making it all the way to the end of this, and have a great day, guys.